Welcome everyone to Nature and Sources of Birth, Deaths and Marriage Records for Norfolk Island 1788 to 1814. My name's Kathy Dunn and I'm from Australian History Research. Today we're going to be looking at the nature of the records, where to actually find the records, and what variation of information is available on each of the records over the different time periods from 1788 to 1814 on Norfolk Island. The New South Wales Birth, Deaths and Marriage Historical Index only contains Reverend Fulton's baptisms, burials and marriages from May 1801 to 1806. So if you're looking for a marriage or a death after 1806, you're not going to find it on the New South Wales Historical Index. And the same goes for anything prior to May 1801. There's a variety of other sources to give you the evidence of a birth, a death, or a marriage on Norfolk Island. There's journals and correspondence, there's victualling books over different time periods, and population returns, also over different time periods. For example, the 1805 muster will give you the evidence of a child. So you then know to look for to search for the birth of that child back from February 1805. And of course, there's the 1810 to 1813 monthly population returns. Not all of them have survived, but if a new name appears, it means that there's been either a birth or an arrival of a person on Norfolk Island. The journals and correspondence are from Philip Gidley King, John Hunter, and Ralph Clark. There's not a lot, but there's still some important historical information. There's no list of names. You have to go and search each individual time period. And of course, there's some population returns or returns of birth, deaths, and marriages in the Colonial Office records. Births and baptisms from 1789 to 1791. Reverend Johnson came to Norfolk Island and for a visit, and on the 6th of November at the Sunday service, he baptised 31 children. And the sources of those information and the data is from Ralph Clark's journal, David Collins, because he also mentioned Reverend Johnson going to Norfolk Island, the Colonial Office correspondence, John Hunter's journal, King's two journals. Now, there's a few different variations of King's journals. There's his first journal from 1787 to 1790 when he first left the island. But he came back in November 1791 and we have another journal. And of course, the Norfolk Island victualling books from late 1792 to mid 1796, which is at the Mitchell Library, State Library of New South Wales. The victualling book is the date that the child went onto the stores. It is not their birth date. Burials at this time were actually conducted at Turtle Bay Burying Ground, they actually call it on the map. There's no list of burials. Many a headstone fragment has been found over the years on the foreshores of Emily Bay, which back in first settlement was actually called Turtle Bay because of the number of turtles that used to be there. The 1792 to 1796 victualling book is a major primary record for Norfolk Island, covering the later part of 1792 to mid-1796. Now, if a child was born prior to late 1792 and they're on the stores, they did cross over from the previous Victorine book, which has not survived. But there are errors, there is missing information. A classic error is William Springham, who arrived on Norfolk Island in March 1790, and the Victorine book has him born on Norfolk Island in May 1790. May 1790 is when he went on the stores. He was actually baptised back in Sydney prior to arriving on Norfolk Island. The Victorine book is available online at the State Library. So you just go into the State Library website and type in 1792 to 1796 Victorine book, Norfolk Island, and the catalogue will bring it up for you. Many people have used this Victorine book in their research, not understanding its historical data. DD means death. When some people have taken the use of the word D as a death, it's 2 Ds for a death, and this is where we know there were deaths on the island. It's from the Victorine book. D by itself can mean 2 things across all the Victorine books. It can mean departed the island, if the Victorine book then gives you further information, for example, the name of the ship or their destination, be it Hobart or Sydney, it's a departure. But D can also mean simply departure from the stores. So you'll find entries of multiple of the same person, multiple entries in the same year. That's because they went onto the stores and they were taken off, and in the same time period they went 3 weeks later, they were back on the stores and then taken off. So there are duplicate entries for the same person, and this is where you have to actually check the dates that they were going on and off stores. And as you can see here, it doesn't give the cause of death. And for children, the children, majority of the times, 99.9%, are recorded by their mother's conviction name. So you have to check both the father's name that you may know from your family history research, the mother's name, and don't forget the de facto relationships, because sometimes children surnames change according to their stepfather or their mother's relationship at the time. On this particular one, we've got the departure of children aboard the Kitty in March 1793, and it only has a D. And we have some DDs, which means a death, but there's no date. Most of the DDs are for deaths prior to the start of this actual Victorine book. So there's an indication that all the DDs with no date actually passed away prior to the last quarter of 1792. So even though it doesn't have a date, it's telling you what your time frame is to research. After the Victorine book, until May 1801, there were very few records for Norfolk Island overall. There's no population return, there's no Victorine book, there's a few letters, and there's some criminal court transcripts from court hearings that were held on Norfolk Island. But there are not many records at all, even for land transactions. There's quite a few missing land transactions. There's no letters or reports going back to Sydney. So if a child was born during this time period, you actually have to look towards Reverend Fulton's baptism when he arrived in May 1801, because when Reverend Fulton baptised a child, he also put the child's birth date too, but also checked them too, because sometimes the child has actually been born in Sydney, then travelled to Norfolk Island and been baptised on Norfolk Island. So there's no set rules. Headstones are a valuable source of historical information for Norfolk Island. We have here on the left the two children of Bartholomew Reardon. They're not in any victualling book. They're not in any muster return. There's no record for them at all on Norfolk Island except their headstone. So here we have Steve Reardon, who departed this life May the 6th, 1801, aged 8. So there we have evidence of an age and also the death. The Norfolk Island Cemetery is still a cemetery today, and its earliest headstone is actually 1795. We have here Thomas Headington, who died in January 1798. There's no burial record for him. There's no death record for him because it's in that mystery zone for Norfolk Island from 1796 to 1801. So it's only his headstone that is the source of his date of death. There's no death record, there's no death certificate. There's simply just the headstone. And gone are the days when we used to go to cemeteries and we'd sit there and we'd write out a transcription. Today we are so fortunate, we just whip out that mobile phone and we take a photo of it, or in sometimes many photos. This is Reverend Fulton's burial book. It's not yes, it's evidence of a death, but the dates are that of a burial, not necessarily the death date. It doesn't give the cause of death. It doesn't give the parents' names. It doesn't give their ages. It doesn't give them when they came to Norfolk Island or when they came to New South Wales. It is simply what it is, a list of burials. We have here down the bottom, we have James Proctor, a settler. We have his date, the 21st of October. That's all it says. It doesn't give the age. So some of the burial records are going to have lack of information. There is one return of births and deaths on there are two returns of births and deaths for Norfolk Island, and it's a yearly report. I wish there was one for every single year, and this is from the Colonial records. And on this, which is very different to the victualling books, is that the children are, if the children's parents were married, the children are recorded by their father's name. This list was put together by William Broughton. Now, for 1802 in particular, this is the 1802 copy, the birth dates actually differ to the birth dates Reverend Fulton recorded with some of the baptisms. The death dates are different to Reverend Fulton because Reverend Fulton is a burial. But there's also some people on this return whose burial's not even in Reverend Fulton's notebook. That's because they were a drowning and no body was recovered. But from a civil administration point of view, there had still been a death. This is available on the Colonial Office records. The other return of births and deaths for Norfolk Island and marriages actually is in 1810. So, as I said, we all wish there was one of these returns for every single year. So here we have Maria Goodwin, born on the 20th of January. We have Sarah Fisher, William O'Brien, and Catherine Monks. And they're given a status, settler's child or a soldier's child. Maria Goodwin, on her baptismal record, her birth date, is actually in February. So there's always going to be sometimes conflicting information. Here we have the Norfolk Island Victualling Book for January to June 1806. And we can also see the use of DD and the use of D. DD, Henry Taylor died on the 31st of May, 1806. Samuel Free, we have a D, 4th of April. There's no extra shipping record added. This is the date that Samuel Free departed the stores, not departed the island, or not death, D for death. So if you have family from Norfolk Island, you have to go and check each individual victualling book. Of course, the first entry of a child in the victualling book is not their birth, but it's giving you a time frame from that the child was born before they were actually put onto the stores. There's other evidence of the number of children within families and also the marital status. This is the 16th of June 1794 with women off the stalls. Now, we've spoken about the victualling books from 1792 to 1796 and from 1801 through to March 1810. But this is a list of women off the stalls. And many times it's overlooked because it's not a victualling book. It's a list of the women off the stalls, but it gives their marital status and also the number of children in their household at the time and who they were supported by. So if the woman is married, the male's name in the last column is actually who their husband is. Now, for Norfolk Island, married can mean many, many things. It can mean de facto, it can mean actually married or going to be married in the future. So you have to not take one record as a standalone that a couple were actually married. You actually have to go and do some further research. And of course, just because it's got married, please note they could have also been married back in Port Jackson. This is Reverend Fulton's baptism book, and we mentioned Maria Goodwin before. She's the daughter of Andrew Goodwin and Lydia Goodwin, which is an indication of a marriage. Reverend Fulton, if the parents of the children were married, he wrote that as such. The name of the father and his wife, or the mother has the same surname as the father. If the parents were not married, he put the two independent names. So looking at baptismal records will give you an indication of whether someone was actually married. So the second one, William Smith, son of Thomas McCarty and Mary Smith, born the 1st instant. What's that? Born the 1st of instant is baptised on the 20th of February and born on the 1st of February. The parents were not married. It doesn't give their abode. It doesn't give you their occupation. This is a marriage record. Reverend Fulton only married 20 couples on Norfolk Island. A lot of the couples actually got married down in Hobart and also in Sydney once they were part of the evacuation and the closing down of Norfolk Island. The marriages also give the witnesses. So where do we get all this information from? You can obtain it from the National Library in Canberra, the Mitchell Library in Sydney, the State Library in Sydney, the New South Wales State Archives, the New South Wales Birth, Deaths and Marriages, and you're looking for journals and diaries, victualling books, birth, death and marriage returns, the Sydney Gazette. What? That's because some of the deaths were actually reported in the Sydney Gazette. The New South Wales Call Pay List, the Norfolk Island Hospital returns from 1810, Reverend Fulton's Notebook, 1801 to 1806, headstones, and also shipping records. Shipping records are very important because it's going to give you the information of when a family group or an individual actually arrived on Norfolk Island. So you're not going and searching the wrong time period. So I would always consult the shipping records because it will tell you the number of children in that household when they departed. The shipping records will not give you the list of a family group. It will give you the head of the household, one wife, and the number of children. It will not give the individual children's names. There's lots of one can actually look at the for the records for birth, death and marriage records for Norfolk Island, 1788 to 1814. You'd look at different types of records across the different time periods. On our Facebook page, which you're viewing, we've actually been putting up in the last 2 months on this day, and we've actually been putting up birth dates and baptismal dates for the first settlement of Norfolk Island. Some people call it the first settlement, others call it the Colonial settlement, but it still covers 1788 to 1814. Yes, we're going to Norfolk Island in March 2025, and there's actually 2 big weeks. There's the Foundation Week, and which is also part of the Convict Ancestry Tour. And we've also, and next year being 2025, it's HMS Sirius Week 2. So, which is mid-March, which is part of the anniversary of the shipwreck of HMS Sirius on the 19th of March 1790. All that information is available on our website, australianhistoryresearch.info. This photo here of the burial of the cemetery at Norfolk Island was actually taken in 1920. I've tried to reproduce this image in modern terms, but no, I have to hang off the biggest tree off the steepest hill that's on Norfolk Island to get the same result. But this image here shows headstones from first settlement, second settlement, and also the Pitcairn settlement. Some of the headstones from first settlement were reused and were reused for during second settlement, both for soldiers and convicts. There's about 10 headstones that one can see by studying the headstones that they have been reused. If you've got any questions or queries in regards to births, deaths and marriage records for Norfolk Island for settlement 1788 to 1814, just put a comment in this video as towards the end, and I will get back to you and answer those inquiries for you. Everyone take care. Thank you.